Hi, we're the Ideas and Actions Group, and today we're going to be talking to you about eliminating food waste. The background for our study is that we found roughly 40% of food in the United States is never eaten, which is among the highest rates of food loss globally. We also found that 30% of U.S. food loss could be redistributed, and that it could provide the total diet for nearly 50 million people. We wanted to connect our issue to the food nexus with food, water, and energy. For food, we found that throwing away uneaten food wastes natural resources and creates financial waste and burden. So the more efficient production and disposal would save money for both producers and consumers. Through water and energy waste, we also found that it takes both water and energy to grow, process, preserve, and transport food, and that by wasting this food, it is wasting energy and water. The dilemma statement that we came up with out of these things is, how can food companies, grocery stores, manufacturers, etc., implement solutions to reduce food waste and landfill waste? The choices available in this process are do nothing or implement waste reduction programs. For doing nothing, this would continue increases in prices in food costs and production costs, would also cause the continued shrinking of environmental resources and pollute the earth. If we were to come up with some reduction programs, this would reduce overall food waste, decrease prices of production and consumption, reduce the environmental pollution with conserving natural resources, and the redistribution of extra food to go to those in need would also benefit. In our analysis, we found that businesses and organizations can learn to effectively prevent wasted food by taking source reduction steps such as inventorying supplies and changing processes and buying less. The EPA has developed tip sheets for grade schools, food manufacturers, and others, including grocery stores, that provide suggestions for ways for these sectors to prevent food loss and waste. Further in our analysis, we found that every year, the United States throws away 1/3 of all food it specifically produces, which is 133 billion pounds of food. Grocery stores are responsible for 10% of this waste. In 1995, according to a study, 20% of edible food was wasted, and in 2007, 40% of edible food was wasted. The growth in between these years, as you can see, is quite large. More than 8.8 billion kilocalories of food were wasted in this 1995 study, which would be enough to feed approximately 100,000 people for 1.5 months. Also, we found that there are people that are trying to change the way that food is wasted and landfill products are being wasted in our society. You can do a zero waste lifestyle, just like Lauren Singer does. She does not contribute landfill waste, and in the past 4 years, her waste can be compiled into just one mason jar, most of this being plastics that are unrecyclable. We also found that specifically in grocery stores, there's a grocery store called Ingredients in Austin, Texas, that is a package-free grocery store aiming towards zero waste and diverting materials from landfills. In the previous slide, we showed 3.74 pounds were sent to landfills in just 1 month from this specific store. We also found that communities, if they were to hold each other accountable and set up community gardens and other programs, that would also diminish some of this waste. Some sustainability considerations that we would need to keep in mind would be natural systems and both economic and societal factors. In our natural systems, less water is used in production, transportation, and irrigation, which would also help the water cycle and hydrosphere. Also, less carbon emissions and energy would be used during transportation, affecting the carbon cycle and the atmosphere in all positive ways. For economic factors, we would be directing the economy towards localized community centers, the environment, and a sustainable future, improving the overall economy. Societal factors include family income, location, and access to safe food and healthy food in food deserts, and enable and educate people on growing fresh foods and using it beneficially. The stakeholders we found for this process can be compiled into 3 groups: food producers, food distributors, and consumers. Many of these would be in a win-win situation if we were to try and reduce food and landfill waste. although it would come at an initial cost to the potential food producers and even the food distributors. Although the consumers would benefit from some of these programs, either on an individual basis or to helping those in need, such as church communities and animal shelters, as well as low-income families. There are many alternatives that we could come up with in order to combat the food waste and landfill waste that are produced in the United States and in society. There are many ways that we can do this, including having more locally centralized food delivery and distribution centers instead of having food distributed across the United States, going all the way from one coast to the other. We also found that setting up community gardens would help with this centralized food delivery and distribution by having a more personal connection for people to growing and create an understanding of where their food comes from. Along with this, having a local farmer to grocery store / consumer connection would help. Having a more personal connection to a local farmer would help to have fresher food being delivered directly to families. Also, bring back the milkman. We could also be recycling and creating more biodegradable packaging that would reduce landfill waste exponentially. There are both positive and negative consequences to coming up with a collective system that would reduce food waste. Some positive would be individual empowerment and alternative points of view of people impacted, so they would be able to learn more about the process and know where their food came from, as well as how they can positively protect the environment. Also, along with this, they would have access to fresher foods and create less landfill waste. It would also eventually boost the economy, although the negatives along with this would be potentially more expensive at first for people to have access to such foods because of a complete overhaul of the system. With this, there's much government regulations and red tape that prevent a lot of the food from grocery stores being redistributed to people in need. So a lot of this would need to be overcome in order to reduce food and landfill waste. The ethical framework that our group worked within was, even though we came from different sort of ethnic backgrounds, we still all believe in the protection of the environment, not doing harm, bringing positive changes, and specifically protecting and leaving sustainable infrastructure for future generations. Along with this last point, we employed the common good test, which focuses on an action that contributes to the positive changes for the most amount of people. We wanted to help people and their access to fresh food that is otherwise just being thrown away as the main point in our dilemma. In conclusion, we wanted to think about Stephen Hawking, who believes that the human species will have to populate a new planet within the next 100 years if it is to survive. With climate change, overdue asteroid strikes, epidemics, and population growth, our own planet is increasingly precarious. So in response to Stephen Hawking's predictions, we need to implement immediately changes for our global community and its opinions and actions concerning these issues. If we do nothing now, people will continue to go hungry, and food will continue to be wasted, and the landfill trash will continue to grow and negatively impact our environment. For food, energy, and water security, we need to employ this for our future. With the growing demand of all of these resources, it is up to us to make the right choices and take immediate action. In reflection, the most shocking thing we learned that almost half of the food produced in the United States is needlessly wasted, when there are millions and millions of people just within our own borders who are food insecure. We also found that there are individual, local, and national programs that are already being employed that have solutions to diminish this waste. The most productive ways are community-based programs that incorporate individual volunteering efforts and bring business and government entities together. Through our group, we learned specifically how to work with other people and utilize different views, personality types, and backgrounds to come to a joint conclusion. If you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you.